to order, please. The March 18th, 2013 session of the Clark County Board of Commissioners will now be open. Before we get started, I have a few announcements to make. Have a note from the Courthouse Security Committee from the Honorable Gene Stanley. She's the presiding judge of the First Judicial District and chairman of the Court Security Committee. It's been requested Sheriff Chris Mathis and Andrew Worley, DMA Director, to conduct emergency drills for the courtroom and the courthouse. These drills are scheduled for Thursday, March 28, 2013, at 9 a.m. in the main courtroom of the old courthouse, 801 South Main Street, Elizabeth. That's just for your information, so you won't be taken by surprise.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just add on that. Anyone's welcome to come that day. We're going to do a mock courtroom setup as well as a security check, a mock courtroom setting, as well as an evacuation. Mr. Harney's been so grateful to help us on securing the church next door, to be able to evacuate. So we want to go through this drill and work with the city. So if anybody wants to participate in that one, we're welcome. Thank you.
We also have some members absent from the meeting this morning. Mr. Chambers was taken to the hospital early this morning with a problem breathing. Mr. Lawrence is having surgery this morning. Mr. Ritchie is still not feeling very well. Mr. Gobble's on a mission trip. So if you'll keep these folks in your prayers when the time comes. And also remember Mr. Red Evans, our local leader in our business community, has passed away. If we keep him in your thoughts and prayers, we appreciate it. Call roll.
Buford Peters.
Here.
Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Here.
Nancy Brown. Here. Joel Street.
Present.
Richard Winters.
Here.
Ronnie Tribbett.
Here.
Harry Sisk.
Present.
Charles Montana.
Present.
Elsie Tester.
Here.
Steve Lawrence. Tom Bowers.
Here.
Joanne Blankenship. Present. Charlie Bayless.
Here.
Bobby Gooch Dees. Present. Ken Arning.
Here.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
Here.
Sonja Keller. Present. Russell Kite.
Here.
Scott Sams.
Here.
Bill Armstrong.
Here.
Pat Hicks.
Present.
And Robert Goff.
We have a forum.
Yes.
We'll have our opening prayer by Lawrence Hodge.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for the privilege to be out one more time, Lord. God, we just thank you for the great weather that we've had. We thank you for our country, Lord. Thank you for our state, our county. Father God, most of all, Lord, we'd ask God that you would be with these in the hospital, some out just because of sickness, some out on trips. Father God, we just ask that you watch over them. You know you're the great physician, Lord, and you can heal our bodies. Lead, guide, and direct. Help us, Lord, to carry out the business the way you have us to this morning. Thank you again for this great country. We give you the praise, Lord, in Christ's most precious name we pray. Amen.
Mr. Trevor, will you lead us in prayer?
Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may have noticed there's a change in the agenda. Public comments will be next. When we get into that, there's certain guidelines we'll be following. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes, and only items that are on the agenda will be addressed. Any public comment? Any public comment? Come up, Mr. Livingston.
Well, it looks like you got some of the committee reports in here today. And I sat in a committee, the financial committee, and they talked about the landfill. And ladies and gentlemen, they had $30,000 in there for the cleanup this year. And they decided that was in their budget. It was introduced into the budget this past year. They've decided they're not gonna do it this year. So you got $30,000 sitting here, and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with it. They said they were going to next September and put it in next year's budget. Well, it's already into this year's budget. Now, ordinarily, if you don't use it, you should turn it back in. Now, last year, the sheriff back here turned in $902,000 or so. And it would be interesting now to see where that money's at. But yet, just keep an eye on this money and see if it's turned in or what they're gonna do with it. I'd say you're not gonna be able to find it here soon. But that's what the problem is here. There's nobody keeping up with the money. And I've never heard a financial report here in my time of being here. And I've been in now here for 10 years, right much. And I've never seen an institution of any type that you didn't know how much you had, how much money you have. Now, I'll guarantee you that any of you people out there in the audience that don't have a clue of how much you got in the general fund, how much you got in debt service, but your money, you should know. They should give some kind of a report, at least quarterly, to let you know if you're ahead, you're behind, or where you're at. And there's nobody, I guarantee that the biggest part of that has no idea how much you got, if you got any, or if you got too much. But really, somebody ought to come up with a financial report, at least quarterly, and give you an idea if you had any money, if you know, if they're gonna raise your taxes, you need to know. And to my knowledge, I don't have any memory. And if there's anybody in here that can tell you that, probably, your financial chairman could probably tell you that if there's ever been a financial report. And I don't ever have any memory of it. But this money will float around, just like we're talking about, the sheriff's money, he turned his back in, he done what he's supposed to. And then let's watch this $30,000 that they're not gonna use this year and see where it goes. And I'd say probably they're gonna use it up for something else, because more than likely right now they've got a money problem in the landfill. So it'd be interesting to just keep your eyes on this and watch it. If you don't watch your money, it's your money, it's all the taxpayers' money. But they're not gonna tell you anything. You have to just, it's like throwing feet to find out where it's at. But until you've got a report, you have no idea. So I think that it'd be helpful from all of you if it's your money to get out there and keep an eye on this thing. You get your report of some type or whatever. I've never seen an institution of any type that the first thing they do, they give a financial report. See how much money you got, see how much you need. You know, you don't know your income and expenditures is where your money, you tally your money.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Your time's up.
So that trustee gives a report, don't have to do with people. They give one every time. For right now, I've got a report for this money, how much money you got. All you gotta do is look how much you got in general fund, it serves and everything else.
How many of these ladies and gentlemen out here know that? How many of you know you can get a report anytime you want? You just now told you have a report. Why don't they have one there?
Sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Any other public comments? All right. Now we have the acceptance of the minutes from our previous meeting.
There's one.
Okay, come up, sir.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm not really sure. I don't want to be completely out of order. Just a comment. He mentioned the landfill. This is a comment to something we've done in the last meeting. Can I speak on it?
Sure.
Okay. A lot of you older
Excuse
gentlemen
me
out
just a
here.
minute, sir. Would you state your name for the?
My name is John Pat Hampton. A lot of you older gentlemen out here remember what Carter County looked like 35, 40 years ago. It was a trash heap. On about this same time, they took my farm for a landfill. One of the good things that came out of moving me off my own land was the fact that we cleaned up Carter County. It was a hard job to clean this county up. Any of you remember whatever country road had a trash heap on it? People threw all their stuff down on the bank, didn't have anything else to do with it. Now, through the wisdom of our committees, decide they're going to cut back our 3-day trash thing to 1 day. Because people bring truckloads. Of course we do. I brought truckloads myself. I brought 8 tires on my tax receipt. I brought 8 tires on my mother-in-law's tax receipt. They didn't belong to us. I picked them up off the highways and the back roads. I couldn't afford $5 a piece to throw them away myself. This is one of the dumbest things we've ever done. There will be lines that one day there will be lines that nobody, half the people won't be able to throw their stuff away. We've been the people. These people right here, we've been betrayed. It reminds me this time of year at Easter. And the only thing that comes to my mind is Judas and 40 pieces of silver. The public has been sold out. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. Yes, sir.
I also have something from last month's agenda. I don't know what the agenda is this week, I got a little late.
What is your topic, sir?
It's about the Second Amendment resolution.
No, sir, that's not on the agenda today, so we'll, these are confined to whatever's on the agenda, and that's not on the agenda for today's discussion.
Chairman, if you look at our agenda, it's very vague. There's no resolutions, there's nothing on this agenda that's even worth discussing.
We'll let everybody else decide that, Mr. Sands.
Well, I can read it off to you, they haven't seen it.
I can read.
What are we gonna discuss?
You're out of order, Mr. Sands. We'll discuss it when it comes back on the agenda, sir. It will appear on the agenda at a future date. You also have a report, Mr. Mayor.
I haven't said anything, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to ask Keith for some,
what?
opinion. I want his opinion on something.
All right.
Keith, for several months, we have tried as a committee to get the public comments brought back to the top of the chart, and it hadn't done it. Well, does Yogi have the power to do that himself?
The chairman of the commission, whether it be Yogi, the mayor, you, whoever you elect, establishes an agenda, then the commission can vote to amend that agenda, move things around, or go down the agenda as is. That's
But we
legislative.
voted on it several months in past. We voted. And then just to find it's brought back, I'm tickled to death it's brought back. Is it brought back for 1 month? Is it brought back from now on?
That's a
We're going to
question.
have Yogi, Nancy. I figured it might make you happy, but apparently nothing does.
Mr. Byers, playing by your rules don't make nobody happy.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think I followed Robert's Rules of Order and he recognized, but you know, you allowed one gentleman to speak on an issue that was on last month's agenda.
Actually, it was on something that's in the
Okay,
package.
but why can't you allow this citizen, I mean, what good is it to have public comments if you put so many restrictions on them that they don't have an opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sir.
Jim Shepherd from Hampton. I too was kind of pleased to see the public comments moved to the front of the agenda. But then I looked at the agenda and I couldn't tell what's going to be talked about today.
I believe you could, sir. You requested a packet.
Oh, I did. But if I'm looking just at the agenda, what I'm saying is that I can't tell from the agenda, are you going to talk about landfill? Are you going to talk about pauper burial? It's not on, it doesn't show on the agenda, does it?
No, sir, it doesn't.
So how is most of the public that was not able to get a copy of the packet, how are they going to know what to talk about?
We'll work on that.
On pauper burials, you have a $600 bill that the budget committee did not authorize to pay. Instead, they brought it forward to this commission meeting, and I suggest that if you decide to change the rules for the pauper burials, you live by your word, pay the bill, have a meeting, have a committee, do whatever you need to do to discuss changing the rules in the future. But for now, you have a commitment to the citizens for pauper burial, then you should honor that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll go on to accept the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Harney to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. We have notaries and bonds.
Amanda Collins, Lisa M. Lott, Tammy Kiedis, Chris Guy, Rhonda Mullins, Linda M. Schaus, Eleanor Banks, Cynthia Karen Morgan, Gina Birchfield, Kelly Enzer, Susan Finney, Kimberly A. Lyons, Caroline F. Jennings, Catherine H. May, Vanessa S. Rain, Jim Muse, C. Deanne Collins, and Sharon Irwin.
Have a motion to approve those.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Street, second by Ms. Cup. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to have our elected and appointed officials and guests to please stand and be recognized. Also, if there's any veterans in attendance. Mr. Mayor, your report, sir.
First, I have a proclamation. Confederate History and Heritage Proclamation. Whereas April is the month in which the people of the Confederate States of America began and ended a 4-year heroic struggle for states' rights, individual freedom, local government control, and determined struggle for deeply held beliefs. And whereas Carter County supplied citizen soldiers and officers who fought for their beliefs in this great struggle, and whereas Carter County, Tennessee has long recognized for Confederate history the officers and enlisted men of the Confederate States Army and the Navy, and those at home who made sacrifices on behalf of their families, homes, communities, and country, and that it is just and right to do so. And whereas the noble spirit and inspiring leadership of these great officers, leaders, and the ordinary men and women, free and not free, of the Confederate States, is an integral part of the history of all of America. And whereas it is important for all citizens of Carter County to reflect upon our past and to respect the devotion of her Confederate leaders, soldiers, and citizens to the cause of Southern liberty, and whereas Carter County, Tennessee is proud to recognize and celebrate the devotion of her Confederate soldiers and all those from Carter County who fought and sacrificed in this great struggle that divided families, the nation, and our state. And whereas the knowledge of the role of the Confederate States of America in the history of our nation and our state is vital to understanding who we are and what we are. And whereas we honor our past and from it draw the courage, strength, and wisdom to reconcile ourselves and go forward into the future together as citizens of Carter County, Tennesseans, and Americans. Now therefore, I, Leon Humphrey, Mayor of Carter County, on this 18th day of March 2013, do hereby recognize the month of April 2013 as Confederate History and Heritage Month in Carter County, Tennessee, and urge all citizens of the county to engage in a historical study of events of the years 1861 to 65, inclusive, and to solemnly contemplate that time in our history. And I call for this observance to the attention of all our citizens. And at this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Bill Hicks, Commander of Lieutenant Robert J. Tipton Camp number 283. Commander. Sir, I'd like to present your camp with this framed proclamation we just read.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have anything to say?
On behalf of the Lieutenant Robert J. Tipton Camp, Sons of Confederate Veterans of Elizabethton, I humbly accept the proclamation. And God bless the South, God bless Dixie. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commander. On Wednesday, March 13th, my administrative assistant, Debbie Street, scanned and uploaded to the county website an agenda, as well as all documents contained in the packet prepared by the clerk's office for each of the commissioners. Going forward, this will be done each month in that the citizens who have internet access will have access to the same information that the commission does well in advance of the upcoming monthly meeting. This is just yet another step taken by the county toward total transparency with its citizens. The link.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that our county attorney look into this, because these are draft copies that have not been approved by the committees that are in this packet, and yet it's out on the internet.
Ms. Blankenship, I'm fully well aware of that situation. These are all marked draft copies. They will be there temporarily. They'll be replaced each month. So once the copies have been approved, they're uploaded as well. And other counties, Washington County for one does this and has been doing it for quite some time. How else are the citizens going to know what's on an agenda? We already see the issues that were raised here this morning. One agenda does not give you the information. So this way, these people will have the information well in advance.
By the way, I neglected to state here in my opening comments that I had to apologize last month for the deportment of some of the people in attendance here. I had to apologize to one potential businessman who said that he was in attendance and was thinking about opening a business here, but I believe he's changed his mind now. Outbursts will not be tolerated. If you've come here to demonstrate, disrupt, try to intimidate, you've come to the wrong place. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Mr. Chairman. Tennessee Code Annotated 7-82-307, Commissioners, Numbers, Terms, Vacancies, Election of Commissioners, Section 4. Vacancies on the Board of Commissioners shall be filled by appointment of the county mayor within 60 days after the occurrence of a vacancy in the office of any commissioner caused by death, resignation, disability, or forfeiture of office, and no later than 30 days prior to the expiration of the term of office of any incumbent commissioner. The Board of Commissioners or its remaining members shall select 3 nominees to fill such office in full accordance with any residential requirements that may apply to the office vacated or to be vacated and under the seal of the Board of Commissioners, shall certify list of nominees in order of preference recommended by such commissioners to the county mayor of the county in which the utility district or its principal office is located, or of the county in which the commissioners customarily meet if the district has no principal office. Within 21 days after the issuance of certification by the Board of Commissioners to the county mayor may enter an order either appointing one of the nominees or rejecting the entire list, or may refrain from taking any action in which the first name on the list of nominees shall be deemed appointed to fill the vacancy or new term by operation of law. Any order either appointing one of the nominees or rejecting a list of nominees shall be entered of record on the minutes of the county legislative body, and a certified copy of the order shall be furnished to the Board of Commissioners and to the appointee. South Elizabethton Utility District submitted a certified list of nominees dated February 28th for appointment consideration. Each of you has been provided a copy of said list. Mr. Jeff Chambers is noted as being the first individual on the list and is deemed to be the appointee. So, Madam Clerk, please let the minutes reflect this appointment per the provisions outlined in the statute.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This letter was dated February the 28th. Why was that not placed in our packets? So it could be put on the agenda.
Sir, normally they're always placed in the packet, but this is one time that the mayor had a shortcoming. We all do that from time to time. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, can I say something? Mr. Chairman?
Go right ahead, Mr. Wilson.
They didn't know the cost of us over the years about these small utilities. County Authority Commissioners, I don't think it's right. So far, when I read in Nashville, these bills coming up, they are trying to change a lot of this stuff. Ain't been voted on yet, but it's coming up. So maybe in the future, I know Mr. Mayor just got to do what the law is. But maybe in the future, that this thing will be changed, and the people of these small utility businesses can have more to say who you let, who you don't let. Thank you, sir.
I have a brief update pertaining to the assistance the county requested in early February through the Emergency Watershed Protection Program to restore those streams and roadways that were damaged as a result of the severe rain events of January 15th and 30th. Last Thursday, I met with District Conservationist Jason Hughes to prepare documentation to be submitted to all the control authorities which have jurisdiction within these projects. An aquatic resource alterations permit application was submitted to Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation, along with similar applications submitted to TVA and the Army Corps of Engineers. It's my understanding the normal time to obtain these permits is approximately 3 to 4 weeks. And believe me, that's at light speed. I myself personally have obtained those through other companies that I work for, and sometimes it takes a year plus. I've been told that we should have a reply within the next 2 weeks as to the availability of any federal funding that's going to be available. Once this has been announced, each of the sites will be surveyed and project design work initiated. Shortly thereafter, we will be provided estimates as to the approximate cost for each project. Upon receipt of this information, the county then will enter into if they so choose, will enter into a cooperative agreement with the Natural Conservation and Resource Service to get these projects underway. The Carter County Highway Department, I've spoken with Jack Perkins, he and I have worked hand in hand on this every step of the way. We'll be doing all the work except rail piling, and we don't have the equipment to do that. So that will be contracted out. I'll keep you posted as things progress. Since our last meeting, I've been contacted by a great number of people, over 100. These are frustrated citizens. These people are upset as to the actions you took pertaining to the Second Amendment resolution. Many of these folks are extremely knowledgeable in regard to this issue and simply cannot comprehend why you would not pass a token resolution, why you failed to send a loud and clear message to the General Assembly and the Governor that any infringements to those inalienable rights guaranteed by the Constitution of Tennessee and the United States would not be tolerated, especially in consideration of the fact that each of you took an oath of office in which you solemnly swore to uphold both, main part of it. Your actions may be understandable if Carter County was the first and only entity to take such action. However, this same message is being delivered all across the country without delay. For this very issue is being addressed at the federal level. How many of you have had an opportunity to just follow the Judiciary Committee and their actions last week and all the discussions that went on and the proposed bill that our Senator Feinstein has proposed? If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. You need to take a look at what's being discussed. I watched some sections of it just the other day, the proceedings on Thursday, and it was really frustrating because most of these senators were sitting there touting the fact that they had been there 38, 40 plus years, and they knew what was best for the citizens, especially here in Carter County. I mean, come on. The clear majority of these citizens that have talked with me understand nullification and the role of the courts in determining what is or is not constitutional. These people are of the belief that it is the responsibility of their locally elected officials to represent their needs, and if this is done properly on a regular basis, those who legislate at the state and federal level would not consider, or at least they would think twice before they take any actions which would ultimately result in infringement of their individual rights. Actions which often result in lengthy court battles. For, as you well know, even at the local level, but at the federal level, litigation comes with a tremendous cost. And most often, a fair and equitable resolution does not come within one's lifetime. In essence, it's usually a tremendous waste of time, value, and resources. Hear the adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, seems to be most appropriate. To reiterate points made last month, it is very clear that gun control does not work. If it did, Chicago and Washington, D.C. would have no violent crime. In fact, while having some of the strictest gun laws in the United States, both cities have one of the highest murder and robbery rates. There seemed to be nothing in the president's unilateral action, a one-size-fits-all solution that will deter criminals, but it will most definitely interfere with law-abiding citizens and their rights within the Second Amendment. Folks, we're missing the point and are in a knee-jerk mode. Guns do not kill, people do. The common element in all of these horrendous tragedies is one of mental illness. The true focus needs to be on how to identify these individuals and do everything possible to secure treatment. People acting through their representatives, the states created a compact. The Constitution, through which they had delegated very limited powers to the federal government. The Constitution is superior to and takes precedence over federal law if the two are in conflict with one another. Thus, as other counties across the country have done, and at the request of countless Carter County citizens, I respectfully resubmit the resolution for consideration. A resolution to preserve and defend the rights of citizens of Carter County to keep and bear arms is granted by the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Tennessee. Mr. Chairman, at this time, a motion to adopt said resolution is in order.
No, Your Honor, or Mr. Mayor, it is not in order. This was not placed on the agenda. You did not forward it to me to be put on the agenda, as anything else in your report was not forwarded to be placed on the agenda. And only items that are on the agenda, especially a resolution, will be considered.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, if any of these commissioners choose to make that motion from the floor, sir, you cannot stop it. You've tried that before. You're operating totally outside your zone of neutrality. As chairman, it's not for you to dictate the policy. It'll be up to these commissioners to decide that, sir.
I'm not dictating policy, Mr. Mayor. I'm simply saying what was already brought up here today. Things are not on the agenda. That's correct. Some things were not forwarded to be put on the agenda. And a resolution is a very worthwhile thing to be put on the agenda because it will bring some comments. This gentleman back here was not allowed to speak because it wasn't on the agenda. If you had forwarded it, it would have been on the agenda.
Sir?
Is that not correct?
Sir, listen, again, as chairman, I've sat there, I know. That's a neutral zone. Sir, you're way outside your scope. If these commissioners decide to make a motion, sir, you cannot prohibit that motion. You can't do it.
You're out of order.
Mr. Burns, you mean that we can't make a motion from the floor on something?
We have to have an item, especially something as a resolution, to be in our packets for each one of us to have time. And Ms. Brown, you've been on this time and time again to have things in our packet in a timely manner.
Yes, sir, and there's stuff that never gets to our packet that we find on the table when we come in here and sit down.
And that comes usually from the mayor's office.
Not always, sir.
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also have a lot of my people in my district, outside my district, wonder why we didn't pass this gun bill last month. And personally, I think it's a good thing for the citizens. And I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion if we accept it.
I already made a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second.
The motion is not in order. However, if you all are of the opinion you need to go ahead and do this now and do away with any rules that have been said in the past about things appearing on the agenda and in your packet, then I guess from here on, it'd just be helter-skelter what comes up during the meeting.
Well, sir, it's been that way.
No, ma'am.
Yes, it has.
That's your opinion. Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Chairman, these resolutions and other things that come before this commission is supposed to be in our packet 5 days prior. And this right here was on my desk whenever I came. It was not in the packet.
Mr. Chairman, this resolution is a sound resolution. It was prepared by our county attorney, not by the mayor. The mayor provided several, well, I provided one in particular resolution to the county attorney and asked him to draft something that was reasonable. And he did that. And it was in your packet last month. It's not a new issue. You've had it, you've reviewed it. And when I've got 100 citizens as mayor of this county plus that have asked me to do something, I'm going to do it. Because I work for them. They pay my salary.
Let me ask you one more question, Mr. Mayor. Why didn't you put it in your packet?
There's no reason. I'm here representing the people. This is mayoral report. I have an opportunity to address the items that I feel is important to these citizens. I'm a member of this commission. I have every right to address issues that the people have brought before me, sir.
You're an ex officio member of this commission.
Question on the motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr.
I
Trigg
made the motion.
to approve
Makes a motion to
the
table.
resolution. Motion to table moved by Mr. Arnold.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cullen. Any discussion? There's no discussion on it. Call the roll.
What's this motion on?
To table this resolution till our next meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I think if we'll get Attorney Bowers to pull out his copy of Robert's Rules of Order, sir, we use the motion to table to prevent any item that we don't want to address coming up. And I think Robert Rules specifically states that you cannot use the motion to table simply to block legislation or discussion on legislation.
I don't think that's what he meant. I think it's meant to be put on our next agenda for our next meeting.
Give us some opinion
I'm
here.
wide awake. I'm just shocked by everything.
Well, Attorney, is that not the case? The motion to table cannot be used as a blanket to block any type of discussion, legislation on the floor?
If I'm to become the parliamentarian of the commission, I'll be glad to do so, but I need to take an agenda, I need a copy of Robert's Rules of Order. And I'll be glad to look at it, but I'm just not, I've never had that role. It's never been my duty to be the parliamentarian.
Mr. Street.
Are we in discussion, Mr. Chairman?
There's no discussion on
I'll be
the
glad.
table.
You can just take 5 minutes.
And like I said, this is not a move to block legislation. It's a motion to table it to our next meeting where it can be placed on the agenda in an orderly manner like it's supposed to be. Call the roll.
Buford Peters,
Mr. Chairman, I will amend my motion that we table this till the next commission meeting.
Very well. Call the roll.
Buford Peters,
Aye.
Steve Ritchie, Lawrence Hodge,
Aye.
Nancy Brown.
No.
Joel Street,
Pass.
Richard Winters,
Aye.
Ronnie Trivett,
No.
Harry Sis,
No.
Charles Montana,
No.
L.C. Tester, Steve Lawrence, Tom Bowers,
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Pass. Charlie Bales.
No.
Bobby Dees. Pass. Ken Arden.
Aye.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
No.
Sandra Coler. Russell Cott.
No.
Scott Sams.
No.
Bill Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Robert Goff. Does anyone want to change their vote?
I got one for rocks too.
Richard Williams, how'd you vote?
How did you vote?
How'd you vote?
I voted aye.
Eight to eight.
8-8. Motion failed. Now, go back to the original motion
Yes.
to,
Accept the
accept
resolution.
this resolution. Call the roll, please.
Buford Peters,
Just a minute. Yes, Mr. Peter.
Can I request that the resolution be read before we vote?
You can.
A resolution to preserve and defend the rights of the citizens of Carter County, Tennessee, to keep and bear arms as granted by the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Tennessee. Whereas the founders of this great country established a government free of tyrannical rule from England, drafted the Constitution of the United States of America to provide a framework where the citizens of this country could live and prosper free and fear from oppression. And whereas in their wisdom the founders also ensured that certain rights and freedoms would be guaranteed by the citizens or to the citizens of this country, and through the ratification of the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, collectively referred to as the Bill of Rights. And whereas the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America provides a well-regulated militant, be necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. And whereas the United States Supreme Court has interpreted the Constitution of the United States has repeatedly upheld the Second Amendment and the rights of individual citizens of the United States to keep and bear arms. And whereas the drafters of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee also sought to ensure certain freedoms and rights will be guaranteed to the citizens of the state through Article 1 of the Tennessee Constitution, which is known as the Declaration of Rights. Whereas Article 1, Section 26 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee provides that the citizens of the state have a right to keep and bear arms for their common defense, but the legislature shall have power by law to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. And whereas Article 11, Section 16 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee provides that the Declaration of Rights hereto prefixed is declared to be part of the Constitution of the state, it shall never be violated on any pretense whatsoever. And to guard against the transgression of the high powers we have delegated, we declare that everything in the Bill of Rights contained is accepted of the general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate. And whereas the President of the United States, Vice President of the United States, and certain members of the United States Congress are reportedly considering taking certain actions, including the proposal and adoption of certain laws and regulations which would infringe upon the rights of the citizens of the United States of America and the State of Tennessee to keep and bear arms as guaranteed to said citizens by virtue of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States and Article 1, Section 26 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee. And whereas the Commission of Carter County, Tennessee finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Carter County to pass a resolution expressing the disdain of the citizens of Carter County toward these proposed infringements and petitioning the Governor and the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee to take the preventive measures to this matter to ensure the preservation of rights of the citizens of Carter County and Tennessee to keep and bear arms. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee, meeting its regular session on this, the 18th day of March, 2013, and with the lawful quorum of said commission being present with the majority voting in the affirmative, that the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee, hereby calls upon the Governor and the General Assembly of the great state of Tennessee to immediately pass any acts as may be appropriate to protect, preserve, and defend the rights of the citizens of Carter County and the State of Tennessee guaranteed to them by the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and Article 1, Section 26 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee to keep and bear arms, and specifically to immediately pass any acts as may be appropriate to nullify an implementation within the State of Tennessee of any federal law, regulation, executive order enacted to restrict the rights of the citizens of Tennessee to keep and bear arms. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect from and hereafter its date of approval, the welfare of the county demanding, and further this resolution shall be transmitted to the clerks of the Senate and the Tennessee House of Representatives, as well as the office of the Governor of the State of Tennessee. This is the 18th day of March, 2013. Share mine.
Since we broke the rules thus far, let's ask the gentleman that wanted to speak on this to come forward and give us his opinion.
Sure. Why not? We throw him out the way, come on up, sir.
How you doing? My name is Joseph Kowajewski. Yeah, I won't expect you to spell it, but I can give it to you later on. I moved here to Carter County 10 years ago. I moved to Tennessee because it was the volunteer state. If I can get this unfolded. 47 years ago, I took an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution. Sorry. I believe that oath had no expiration date. I'm not a lawyer, I'm an amateur historian. And over the last 10 years, I have focused mostly on the founding documents and how they were drawn up and why. Our founding fathers had a fear of government. George Washington said, government is not reason. It is not eloquent. It is a force. Like fire, it is dangerous, a stingy servant, and a fearful master. James Madison, who was the primary author of our Constitution, said, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls of government would be necessary. That is why the Constitution was written, not to control the population, but to control the government. The Declaration of Independence is the document that establishes a free and independent nation with these words: when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the bounds that have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. The Declaration also states, whenever any form of government becomes destructive to those ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Does this sound as if the framers of our nation believed in the sovereignty of government? The Declaration of Independence is the blueprint for our nation. The Constitution is the owner's manual. If you notice, I never speak of government power. I speak of government authority. The government has no rightful power. It only has the authority which is granted to it by the people. A license which can be revoked at any time. Now for the reference to the Supreme Court that was made in the last meeting. The Constitution does not give the Supreme Court the power to decide what is constitutional. In fact, nowhere in the Constitution does it mention how to decide constitutionality. But it does say that only the states have the authority to amend the Constitution. Therefore, it stands to reason that the authority to determine constitutionality also rests with the states. The Supreme Court early on assumed power to decide constitutional issues, and the other branches never bothered to challenge it. But does it make any sense at all that our founders, who so feared overreaching government, would hand the authority to judge constitutional issues to 9 men who were never elected and who held the jobs for life? I don't think so. Now the Commission, while willing to cede this unholy power to the Supreme Court, also cited Andrew Jackson in a dispute with Clay as an argument against nullification. Is this Commissioner aware that this same Andrew Jackson, when the Supreme Court decided against the constitutionality of moving the Cherokee Nation in Worcester versus Georgia in 1832, made the statement, John Marshall, who was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. And also in the same letter, he wrote, the decision of the Supreme Court has fell stillborn, and they find they cannot coerce Georgia to yield to its mandate. In other words, Georgia nullified the Supreme Court decision, and Jackson stood behind it. When John Adams was president, he passed an Alien Sedition Act, which made criticizing the government a federal crime. The 1797 to 1798 Virginia and Kentucky resolutions were written by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, and they effectively nullified that act. So I say that not to stand up to the federal government and pass the Second Amendment resolution is an act of abject cowardice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Good.
I have something to say. I looked at all these people back here, and most of them got signed up there. They all done it. I do. This is just a token. Let them know what we do up here in Carter County, that we're against them trying to take our guns and resolutions. Now, I can see why some of you vote against this. I just don't understand. Well, that's all I have to say, Mr. Burns.
Mr. Von Cannon.
How many commissioners served? I know Pete Bridges did. I did. Maybe that's part of it. Because we've got folks here that haven't gone through what others have to defend the right to bear arms. I appreciate the history lesson from the gentleman because it was well-founded. And there's another fellow that you need to listen to. You need to go back and read Bill Peters' article on bearing arms. This nation was founded with citizen soldiers up until the Civil War. The Tennessee militia required so many days a year of training. Whether you, as long as you were able-bodied, you had to be there. You had to bring your own weapon. You had to bring your own, at one time, mini balls. You had to have enough powder to shoot 20 mini balls. This was a requirement of everyone that was able-bodied. What's changed? Well, times have changed. However, if we were ever invaded by a ground army, which we probably never will be because of modern technology, however, we still have to defend ourselves against foreign invasions. Maybe this will never happen. Maybe the times have changed to such that missiles and whatever have taken over the era of mini balls and flintlocks and whatever. But it still stands to reason that the right to bear arms was there, and it should always be there. I advise you as political animals to vote for this resolution. If you don't, and I think you're smart enough to realize that the people vote. And those of you that change your mind, shame on you for voting that way to start with.
Must forgot what to say. Call the roll. Sheriff, would you like to speak?
Obviously, I need to make a comment. I would just ask that, maybe I missed that during the resolution, Mr. Bowden was saying that's in there. I would just ask that the resolution include specifically Congressman Rowe, our two senators, that they uphold our Second and Fourth Amendment rights. They're the main ones that and change this with the federal government. I just hope that that's included in there, because those are the main ones that need to hear to support our Second and Fourth Amendment right. They would always vote to support them, so I hope that that's in there, that needs to be in there.
All right. Question? Question on those?
To support the,
I'm sorry, Mr. Street.
That's fine, Mr. Chairman.
all right.
Buford Peters,
Aye.
Keith Ritchie, Lawrence Hodge,
Aye.
Nancy Brown,
Aye.
Joel Street,
Aye.
Richard Winters,
Aye.
Ronnie Tribbett,
Aye.
Harry Seas, Charles Montana,
Aye.
Elsie Tester,
Aye.
Steve Lawrence, Tom Bowers,
No.
Joanne Blankenship,
Aye.
Charlie Bayless,
Aye.
Bobby Dees, Ken Arden,
Aye.
Steve Chambers, John Lewis,
Aye.
Sonia Coler, Russell Cott,
Aye.
Scott Sands, Bill Armstrong, Pat Hicks, Robert Gold.
Sixteen ayes, motion passed. That goes for both sides of the rail.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that Attorney Bowers submit that to the proper authorities as quickly as possible, because as we speak, federal level, they're discussing this. Senate Judiciary Committee. Turn on C-SPAN, watch it. Time's of the essence. It doesn't require any real action on anyone's part other than let us notify our representatives how we feel in Carter County about this issue. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Byers, I make a motion to recess for 10 minutes.
Motion to recess, to have a second.
Second.
Mr. Brown, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're in recess for 10 minutes.
In this matter especially, some of you have made some assumptions as to the mayor's motives and actually followed up with public statements which could lead people to believe that my actions are based solely on a grab for political power. Now, you're not new kids on the block. You've been here for a while, most of you. And you know that the county mayor's scope of authority is set by state statutes. And in essence, the mayor really doesn't have any real power. And this mayor, for one, doesn't want it. Doesn't want it. It's actually you, the commission, that's in control. It's obvious. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I work for the citizens of this county. They pay my salary. And I will always do what I feel is in the best interest of the mass and not that of a select few. I'm so thankful that I was fortunate enough to finance my campaign personally. Absolutely no assistance was taken from any one individual, political party, PAC, or special interest groups. And I'm a member of several organizations where that money was offered and I declined. Having done that, I am not obligated to no one to do anything other than what is morally and ethically right and in the best interest of the citizens who entrusted me to this office. To that end, and at the request of my constituents, on August the 15th, 2011, I made a passionate plea to this commission to downsize from its current 24 members to 9, or at the very least, 16. However, after discussion, the redistricting and reapportionment resolution was adopted by a vote of 16-6. It was obviously clear to me that many of you had some doubt as to what the people really wanted as far as the actual size of this legislative body. And this was immediately confirmed by your actions in tabling a motion to create a private act allowing the question to be presented to the citizens during the 2012 election. On Sunday, August 28, 2011, the Elizabethton Star published the results of its survey of the citizens as to what would be their preference as to commission size. 436 persons participated by mailing in a ballot or hand carrying it and dropping it off at the Elizabethton Star office. These people actually signed their names and provided additional information as other thoughts above and beyond what was outlined in that survey. Another 400 persons voted online. The results were as follows. 465 votes, or 56%, for a 9-member commission. 96 votes, or 11%, for a 16-member commission. And 275 votes, or 33%, for a 24-member commission. The results of the survey suggested that there are at least 67% of the citizens which prefer a smaller commission. Now, many of you have questioned the validity of this. It's not scientific. Well, what's scientific? We had 400 plus people that hand carried. They took the effort to walk to the Star and hand them a ballot. The other 400 voted on a computer, and that computer, the address, had only one vote. One vote. The problem is, with those that voted on a computer, that's been raised more than once. The problem is, it could have been an IP address in Washington County or Sullivan County. So, you could have skewed that. The mayor could have. The mayor didn't do that. But I know personally that there are certain individuals in high-ranking positions here that did contact people in Washington County and asked them to get online and vote for 24 commissioners. It's not right. In December 2011, I made again a second appeal to this body for downsizing or the initiation of a private act to allow the people to vote in 2012. Wouldn't have been a problem with that. But at that time, we took action. We wouldn't allow any action on it. We just voted up and says, no, we're not going to address this today. To be very candid, my whole professional career, I've never seen anything quite like this. How long are you going to ignore the wishes of the people of Carter County? How long? During the past 15 months, there have been more calls and office visits pertaining to this matter than any other, with the exception of the Second Amendment during the last 30 days. My discussions and interactions with these people suggest that the actual percentage in favor of downsizing is far greater than 67%, far greater. And I know you've had conversations. At that meeting, one of you got up and said, Mayor, during the campaign, yeah, I talked to a lot of people about downsizing. But now that I'm here, I like these people. You turned your back on the people that entrusted you to that office. The time has long passed when this commission should have taken a firm stance in support of what is in the best interest of their constituents, your constituents, our constituents. Again, I ask, how much sand must pass through the hourglass? How much? Today, you have an opportunity to restore voter confidence and faith in your abilities to go. The decision as to whether there will be 24, 16, or 9 commissioners as far as seats on the ballot in the 2014 election is yours. What will it be? Mr. Chairman, at the very least, a motion is in order to downsize the commission to 16 members, 2 being elected from each of the 8 districts in the 2014 election.
Again, Mr. Mayor, again, that was nothing in our packets, on your reports. There's never anything in our packets on your reports and what you intend to bring up before us. And I've asked you many times in the past to put your reports in our packets like every other committee is required to do in a timely manner so we can get out. Repeatedly, you refused to do that. It's been your choice to bypass the commission with these reports. And I'm telling you now, sir, and I've told you before, your continuation to provide us with this information in advance will be deleted from the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, all due respect, sir, you know, we've had this discussion only once, and it was over this very same issue in December of 2011, because, sir, if I had put this in the packet, then what I would have been doing is I would be guilty of allowing you, sir, and the rest of the commission to violate this issue in sunshine, because you want to deal with things that are predetermined.
Now, Mr. Mayor, nobody has been guilty of violating the sunshine law. These accusations on your behalf and on your disciples' behalf will no longer be tolerated, sir. Now, if you have any further to say on this, say it. If not, take your seat.
Well, I do have something to say, Chairman.
You know, if it's going to be inflammatory.
It's not inflammatory, it's in response to your accusations.
And accusing the commission of violating the law, not be tolerated.
Sir, I know that you have not come to terms with the 2010 election. Some of this commission hasn't. Some of you had political aspirations of your own to sit in the mayor's seat. You had every opportunity at this office that this mayor did. The experts told me that I couldn't win this election, and this may be the only 4-year term that this mayor serves. But while I'm here, sir, I'm going to do what's in the interest of the people. They put me here. 59% of the people, one of the largest votes in the history of this county for the seat of mayor, voted and supported me. Now that may change. It may be 9% next time if I choose to run. But sir, while I'm here, I'm going to do what the people of this county elected me to do. I'm the mayor of this county. I'm a member of this board, and I will issue my reports just as I have always done, with no ill will and discontent intended.
You will put your reports in our packets, or you will not be recognized as mayor's reports.
That doesn't surprise me a bit, Chairman. because you're in control, just as you shut the public out, now you're going to shut the mayor of this county out.
Take your seat, Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a good friend with the Washington County Chairman, and he, likewise, I spoke to him yesterday on these issues. Though mayor does not speak to about anything that's not in it. I'm good friend with Mr. Matthews.
I also attended the Washington County Committee after our commission meeting last month. Totally different. Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Chairman, now the mayor talks about he hadn't tried to deceive this commission, and that's a lie. Because he called me from Nashville trying to get a private resolution passed in Nashville to take control of the planning office and take control of this man's position. Now, there are some different ways. If you think that you're not deceiving this commission, you know we need to tell the truth. And if you're going to tell the truth, just tell it all. Now, another thing, if he thinks that he paid for his campaign all by himself, that's another lie, because I contributed to it. But that was a mistake. Thank you.
Well, let's don't get on personal political agendas and past elections, anybody's plans for future elections. I see you, Mr. Trivy. Mr. Von Cannon. Mr. Von Cannon.
I'd like for this group to settle down a little bit because there's some old men in this group that may have health issues. But let's face reality. Several of us were at the legislative breakfast the other morning. Not many, 3 or 4 commissioners maybe. And there was asked a show of hands as to the number of people that wanted or supported downsizing. Probably 2/3, or at least a half, probably 2/3 of the people there, and you were there, Mr. Chairman, did they or did they not raise their hand to support downsizing?
I'd have to dispute your numbers, sir.
Okay, what was your version? Half?
Maybe a quarter.
No, you can't count, I can't count.
That's on record.
Since he brought up the legislative breakfast, the city mayor gave a very detailed progress report of what had gone on in the city. Our county mayor did not let the people in attendance know of one accomplishment this county has made this past year, and this very disturbed me.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Since we're talking about legislative breakfast, I was there at the head table. I know this is totally off topic, and I ask for forgiveness, okay? Both the commission and the people in the audience. But I had the best view in the house. Mr. Von Cannon said at an angle he couldn't see the people. Sir, you and Ms. Blankenship's over left, you couldn't see the people. When I asked that question, there wasn't a soul in the house that I didn't see, other than possibly John Thompson. I know John would support it. He and I have talked about this more than once. But everybody else put up their hand. So the clear majority, 80+% of the people said that. And as far as detailed reports, the previous 2 legislative breakfasts, I was the only one locally that gave a detailed report. But you know, this time there were some things, it's very limited, and I acknowledge that. This time I felt there were some things that had happened that were more important than detailed reports, because the main thing that was on everybody's mind was sequestration. And I yielded my time to our state and federal representatives to handle that. But I wanted to know the answer to that question because I'm always belittled here. You make it appear that I'm the only person that believes in downsizing. In that breakfast, it came clear to me that the majority of the people in this county want a smaller, more efficient, transparent, and accountable government.
Thank you.
And then one other thing, sir. Steve Berger had just passed. And I felt that it was more appropriate to ask for a moment of silence in behalf of Steve Berger who has worked diligently with this county government, with city government. He covered that breakfast on numerous occasions, and I felt that it was more appropriate to take a moment of silence in his behalf because he worked for us as a servant.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges, you have something to say?
I just want to ask the mayor a question about the percentage. You said how many was voted to, as called, voted to downsize?
67%, sir, plus.
Of how many called?
That was 800. I'm talking about the start line.
Okay.
But the ones that I've talked to, other than John Thompson, 100% of them.
What percentage of that is 13,000 voters?
Well, sir, 800 that went to the Star is a good start on that. That's close to that 10%.
That's not nearly 13,000 voters. though.
Well, sir, we've got a choice. Put it on the ballot.
Mr. Street.
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully ask that we get back to the agenda.
Thank you, sir. We're going right now, we're going into committee reports. Budget Committee, Mr. Sis.
Budget Committee met March 11th. And Mr. Ronnie Taylor, tax assessor, came before the committee with a couple of requests, and I'll make those to you now.
Hold it down, fellas.
Two taxpayers entitled to a refund. First being the Doe River Gorge Christian Camp. Their property was deemed exempt by the State Board of Equalization. The refund would total $4,929 and would include a portion of 2009 and all of 2010 taxes. They had been paid by Doe River Gorge for the exempted property. Second refund would be for Burger Hut. When submitting the 2010 tangible personal property schedule, incorrect equipment values were listed. With the corrected schedule, Burger Hut would require a refund of $732 for 2010 taxes paid on said personal property. So I make a motion, and this was recommended by the Budget Committee, to refund Doe River Gorge Christian Camp $4,929 and Burger Hut $732 to clear up this matter.
Second.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Brown, to refund these two property owners for overpayment of their taxes. Do I have a do I have any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Rupert Peters.
Aye.
Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Aye.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Tribbett.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Testor.
Aye.
Steve Lawrence. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Aye. Charlie Bailey.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Aye. Ken Arden.
Aye.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
Aye.
Sandra Coler. Aye. Russell Cott.
Aye.
Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carries.
Second item, landfill committee chairman Joel Street requested approval to utilize $5,848 that has been set aside in the general fund. Line item is designated for county cleanup projects. He asked that it be used to cover the expenses of disposing of tires brought to the landfill by the sheriff's department and the highway department, as well as cover expenses for the annual river cleanup day. So I make a motion to allow the landfill to use the $5,848 in line item 64,000-599 to cover this cost.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Sis, second by Ms. Keller to approve this transfer. Any discussion? All roll, please.
Buford Peters. Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge. Nancy Brown, no. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Trivett. Harry Seas. Charles Von Cannon. Elsie Tester. Stephen Rand. Tom Bowers. Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey. Bobby Dees. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonja Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. And Robert Goff.
One no, motion carried.
Okay, next item, excuse me. We have a bill for $600 for another pauper's burial, and that line item has been exhausted. Committee couldn't bring forth a motion, but I'll make the motion now that we vote on this today to pay the $600 bill for this burial.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Trivett to approve this $600 transfer from the fund balance to pay for pauper burial. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I know some of you made some statements earlier in reference to pauper burial, the county's responsibility. If you read the statute, it's pretty clear and straightforward. It says the county legislative body may appropriate monies as follows. Carter County's always done that. We've taken care of our own. And issue's been raised, it's gotten way out of hand. We have so many now, we've had 8, this makes number 9, and 12, almost 12 period, at least in the fiscal period. So I got online, of course, there was an article in the Johnson City Press that was somewhat there. It indicated that Sullivan County had stopped doing pauper burials as well as Washington County. Well, that's not true. Sullivan County has. Washington County is continuing right along with their process, their policy. I spoke last week on Thursday or Friday with Sherry Green, Administrative Assistant Mayor Eldridge. She handles all pauper burials. And I asked her, Sherry, your population is twice that of Carter County. Can you tell me how many pauper burials you've had today? 43. 43. Your population is twice ours. But we've had less than a fourth of what they've done. And their commission, from what I've been told, is supportive of this. We've got a policy in place. Attorney Bowers and I have talked on a number of occasions. Some of these are not clear, cut and dry. Is that not correct, Attorney Bowers?
Certainly.
You and I have counseled on many of them, at least 4 different issues. I have correspondence with him to that effect. And our decision was always go ahead and take care of that situation. And I think that should be your decision today. And if we have 10, if we spend $10,000, which we don't have. We just didn't budget properly. We budgeted for 3 based on years past. Things have changed. Carter County today is not the same as it was 15, 20 years ago, even 5 years for that matter. So we've got lots of issues, and I suggest that you go ahead and take care of this obligation.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, we've been doing this for years, and I know we've had several years this year that we normally don't have. But $5,400 is not gonna break this county, I don't think. And I think we owe it to the people. And I know that they've been checked out and they're legitimate. So I'll make a motion at this time that we go ahead and pay this bill.
We already have that motion for discussion. Ms. Blankenship?
There is a bill before the state legislative body that addresses pauper burials again this year.
Any other discussion? I know that some of y'all have felt, as I have, that this process is being abused. When actually these people, some of these people, I won't say it, all of them by any means, are abusing it. They have family, they have assets, yet they won't come to the county to pay for their burials, so the family won't have to. They've even objected to the type of burial. I know it is policy that these be cremated. It was brought to us last month that some of the family objected to their cremation. But if they have family, it should be between the family and the funeral home how to best bury their loved ones, family members.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I amend that motion to go ahead and turn this over to a committee and let them decide to work out this policy if they're going to change it?
I think it's a very good idea, and if you want to bring that up after this vote, we'll be happy to do that. Yes, you can.
What, $600 for burial? What if I died, I'd have no plot? Who gets that plot for me?
Well, it's supposed to be.
Well,
It's supposed to be.
Take that to, cubes, get rid of me.
They're going to spread him on the golf course down there.
Coach, they're trying to put you in a snuff box.
They're too big of bricks to get me. Where do they?
Well, if you're cremated, there's several options. I guess you can be sprinkled in a place of your choice. You can actually be buried. Of course, it wouldn't take nothing but a fence post hole to shoot. But that's also up to the family. Yes, sir.
Question on the motion.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Trivett, to go ahead and pay for this cremation according to policy.
From fund
Be
balance.
approved. Do what?
Was it amended?
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
From fund
No.
balance. From fund balance.
Yep.
From fund balance.
And this is to come from fund balance. Is that right, Mr. Sis?
Yes.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Buford Peters,
Aye.
Guy Ritchie, Lawrence Hodge,
Aye.
Nancy Brown, Joel Street,
Aye.
Richard Winters,
Aye.
Ronnie Trivet,
Aye.
Harry Seas,
Aye.
Charles Montana,
Aye.
Elsie Tester,
Aye.
Steve Lawrence, Tom Bowers,
No.
Joanne Blankenship, Charlie Bayless, Bobby Dees, Ken Arney,
No.
Steve Chambers, John Lewis, Sandra Kohler, Russell Cott,
Aye.
Scott Sands, Bill Armstrong,
Aye.
Pat Hicks,
Aye.
Robert Gold.
2 noes, motion carries.
Okay, the next, excuse me, item comes from the Courtroom Security Committee. It's recommended the use of the Courtroom Security Reserve to cover the cost of relocating the camera in John Paul Mathis' office. Total cost $865. So I make a motion that we approve this from the courtroom security reserve for the cost of relocating camera.
Have a motion for Mr. Sis to approve this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Street. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Aye.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Tribbett.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Von Cannon.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Steve Morantz. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship.
Aye.
Charlie Bailey.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Ken Arden.
Aye.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonja Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next item is concerning the animal shelter. They've received various donations. List of such included in your budget committee minutes in your packet. In order to accept these donations, county commission must approve acceptance. So I make a motion to accept the $4,718 in donations received by the animal shelter to this point.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Ms. Brown, to accept these donations. Do I have any discussions? Call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Aye.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Tribbett.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Von Cannon.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Steve Morantz. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship.
Aye.
Charlie Bailey. Bobby Dees. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonja Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
And I vote for Mr. Gobble while he's
The Clean Team, they have also received donations. The Clean Team is a group of students that travel to area classrooms to encourage recycling on the part of student body and other green efforts. These donations will be used to feed the members when they are present, when they make their presentations to the classrooms. So the motion to accept the $600 in donations is recommended by the Budget Committee, and I make that motion for the Carter County Clean Team.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Street to accept these donations. Any discussion? Call roll.
Buford Peters. Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Tribbett. Harry Seas. Charles Von Cannon. Elsie Tester. Steve Morantz. Tom Bowers. Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey. Bobby Dees. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonja Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next item is General Fund 101, Amendment Number 6, 8 items, for a total of $25,640.85, zero coming from fund balance. I make a motion that we approve this amendment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Hodge to approve this amendment. Any discussion? Mr. Ron Cannon.
Fund balance, fund balance, fund balance.
This is zero.
Where do we stand? I know we're not in any trouble, but how much more fund balance can we stand until we get in trouble on our bond rates?
Well, you just took $600 out of fund balance to pay for your pauper's burial, so you're $600 less than you came in with today. As far as your bond rating, as long as you have a fund balance, I'll be honest with you, I don't like where our fund balance is, and I never have liked where our fund balance is. As a finance director, I recommend you have more in fund balance than we have now. But I don't think it's going to affect your bond rating immediately, but we have to be cautious on anything we spend out of fund balance. This amendment has nothing coming from fund balance. The only thing you've taken in this meeting is the $600 for the pauper's burial.
Changing line item.
Right.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Aye.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Lonnie Trubek.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Stephen Grant. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Ken Arden.
Aye.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
Aye.
Sandra Coler. Russell Cott.
Aye.
Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Okay, the next item, Solid Waste Fund, 116, amendment number 3, one item, total $600, zero coming from fund balance. Make a motion that we approve this amendment.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Trubek to approve this item. Any discussion? Call roll.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Aye.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Trubek.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Ken Arden.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Sandra Coler. Russell Cott.
Aye.
Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Robert Goff. All ayes.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next item, General Purpose School Fund, 141, amendment number 6. There's one item. This is special education budget, zero coming from the fund balance. I make a motion that we approve amendment number 6.
How much is it, Mr. Sis?
It's $79,868.71.
Have a motion by Mr. Sis, seconded by Mr. Lewis. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge. Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Because I am an employee of Carter County and have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience, to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. I.
Richard Winters. Ronnie Trubek.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester. Stephen Grant. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey. Bobby Dees. Ken Arden.
Being as well in Carter County School District, have a conflict of interest, I know that.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
Aye.
Sandra Coler.
Because I'm employed with Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in this proposal that has to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and other answer only to my conscience and to the obligations to my constituents and the citizens of this body represents. Aye.
Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next item, Federal Projects Fund 142, Amendment Number 5. 2 items, total of $8,160, 0 coming from fund balance.
Put that form in motion.
I did.
Okay. Got a second by Ms. Keller.
I'll second it.
Ms. Keller, second. Thanks. Do I have any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Steve Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Because I am employed in Carter County and have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted, however, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. I.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Lonnie Trubek.
Aye.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Steve Williams. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship.
Joanne.
Aye.
Charlie Bailey.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Ken Arden.
Being an employee of the Carter County School System, having a conflict of interest, I vote aye.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
Aye.
Sandra Kohler.
Because I'm employed in Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal that to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to the constituents and the citizens whose body represents. Aye.
Russell Cott. Scott Sands.
Thank you.
Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried. Anything else, Mr. Sis? All right, the Financial Management Committee.
The Financial Management Committee met on March the 6th, and we had a report from Melissa Moreland and from our county attorney about the tax sale. It will take place sometime this summer. So there was a question raised about the tax sale. So that property will be up for sale in the summer. Is that correct?
Looks like May.
May. May summer. It's getting close. As you know, we've been talking back and forth with the rescue squad. And back in October, we talked to them, and then we talked to them again in March. And what they have, you all got a letter from our county attorney about what they have proposed. And the way I take this, we're under their 90-day notice that they want out of their agreement with the county at the end of this fiscal year. They will no longer take any money from the county after July 1. They're willing to provide prisoner transport on behalf of the county at the prevailing Medicare rate, but they failed to provide us what the Medicare rate would be. They're willing to transport the dead bodies to Sycamore Shoals at the Medicare rate, which they failed to give us on that. And they will provide search and rescue when and if the county requests it. They define that as the search and rescue as swiftwater rescue, high angle rescue, lost in the wood rescue, lake searches, and similar and like kind situations. And that is if the county wants them to do that. And then they will no longer take the calls from 911. They'll go to the county.
Now, Joanne,
Yes.
you just said the rescue and all that stuff. It also states that they will charge
Oh,
for
yes,
their
sir.
time.
Right, and that is a charge
Yeah.
to the county.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to open this service up for bids.
Have a motion from Mr. Arney to place bids for emergency and rescue services. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Trigger. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this isn't on the agenda.
There's a lot of things wasn't on the agenda today, Mr. Vodka, that you approved to talk about. I don't see why you have a problem with this one. Any other discussion? All in favor of placing our rescue and emergency services, ambulance service out for bid? Let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Well, okay, let's have a roll call.
Buford Peters,
Aye.
Steve Ritchie, Lawrence Hodge,
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Ayes. Joel Street,
Pass.
Richard Winters, Ronnie Trivett,
Aye.
Harry Seas,
Pass.
Charles Von Cannon,
No.
Elsie Tester,
No.
Steve Lawrence, Tom Bowers,
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship,
Pass.
Charlie Bailey,
Aye.
Bobby Dees,
Pass.
Ken Arney,
Aye.
Steve Chambers, John Lewis,
No.
Sandra Kohler,
Pass.
Russell Cott,
Aye.
Scott Sands,
No.
Bill Armstrong, Pat Hicks,
Pass.
Robert Goff. Anybody change your vote, change your vote?
Eight to four? Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I want to turn this back over to the Health and Welfare Committee.
Okay. Motion failed, and we have a motion to turn this over to the Health and Welfare Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Sis.
Mr. Chairman, can I have one thing?
Yes, sir.
Upon receipt of the correspondence before I advance it to the full commission, I did take an opportunity to speak with Mr. Loach. And I think for the commission to even properly evaluate this offer and have any idea if this is a fair offer or not a fair offer, I've spoken with Mr. Terry Arnold, and I've requested him to provide what the Medicare reimbursement rate is for a corpse, what the Medicare reimbursement rate would be for a transport from the jail to the hospital. I've already spoken with Sheriff Mathis. He's going to put together some estimates. I looked at the last couple of years. Obviously, we could have a terrible year or a great year at the jail. You never know, but he's going to try to put some numbers together on how many corpse transfers we've had as a county on an annual basis, and how many medical prisoner transfers we've had from the hospital to the jail as a county. Also asked Terry Arnold to provide some estimation to this commission of what a search and rescue would cost. And I understand every search and rescue is completely different, but a 4-person, couple of days search and rescue, so that this commission could then sit down with the true numbers and get a feel, is this going to be more costly, less costly, or something you'll consider? I think you're missing some crucial data right now to even evaluate this offer. Do you agree, Ingrid?
Yeah, and I can respond to that just a little bit. I also, per your instructions, talked to Terry Arnold, I've talked to the chief, I've talked to the coroner, and Terry did advance me Medicare rates. However, there are codes on here that don't say prisoner transport. It says A0425, A0426, and those are things that only the rescue squad would know. I've done some research and I've pulled what ground mileage is and all that stuff, but we still need a little bit more documentation from them. I have an average number of inmate transports. I have an average number of coroner transports. However, until we get those Medicare rates specifically defined from the rescue squad, I don't feel comfortable in letting out any estimates on that because we don't have the firm numbers from the
And
rescue
we have to have
squad.
a number on search and rescue, an idea.
He is working on the rescue services and the price on that, but like he said, that's gonna be very hard to put a number on because each rescue is different. But we are in the process of getting that information.
I believe in our negotiations prior, they were going to bill the person being rescued for insurance people. Is that correct?
That has been discussed.
Question on the motion.
I would ask that go to the Financial Management Committee instead of the Health and Welfare, since that's where the main discussion has been with the rescue squad.
I would rather it come before the health and welfare,
Okay.
There's some questions I have to answer.
Okay.
Mr. Street had
Then we can
that
take it
before
from
the
that.
question.
And we'll send it over to finance once we find out what they're gonna charge. Because if you're moving these dead bodies forward, that runs into a lot of money every year. I don't know how many it's been, but I'm wanting to check on that and see how many it has been, where we know where we're at.
Mr. Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious, I think I know, but it made mention of when the county asked for search and rescue, who's the representative? The sheriff's department would make that request? Who would make that request?
That would certainly be one of the.
Emergency management, sheriff, mayor.
So you'll have to decide.
We have to
More
decide.
important
We would
is
have to
the dead
decide.
bodies. What about the live ones that the sheriff has to transport? What's your cost there now?
I have pulled data from our criminal investigations, and from our jail. I pulled data from 911 to coincide with this. I also pulled data from the rescue squad to see what their data is. It's all different, but basically an average, we probably are doing an average of about 3 transports a month on average from the jail. As somebody that gets sick, has to go to the hospital to be evaluated. So you average about 3 of those a month. We're somewhere between 4 and 5 a month regarding criminal investigations, suicides, simply dead bodies that have to go to the coroner. So that's kind of the figures that we're looking at. So around 8, roughly about 8 transports a month is what we're looking at as the total. Some months it may be 2, some months it may be 10 or 12, but we're averaging about 8 transports a month throughout the last couple of years. It's kind of some higher and some lower.
Sheriff, what is the cost of transporting a prisoner to the hospital?
We've never had to pay up to this point. That's been always included, so it will depend on what those.
Now, can you transport them if they're not real sick with a deputy?
We do that when we can to avoid just
Yeah, I know.
if it's something that we can, if they're required to handle petition as part of what we're paying the Southern Health Partners, if they deem they need to go transport, we're going to call the rescue squad.
That's a bad liability, yeah.
But we have taken to, and we require the city of Elizabeth, if they arrest somebody, say that's too intoxicated to be admitted to the jail, we'll have them transport them. Again, as long as if they're able to walk on their own 2 feet and so forth, we will do that. So there's not, we minimize that as much as possible.
Mr. Street?
Sheriff, could you, a search and rescue operation, I mean, I saw some drastic figures on those. Could you elaborate on what an extensive search and rescue operation could possibly cost the county?
Mr. Street, I'd love to give you that. I have no idea. It just depends on the situation. I know that most of those calls come through 911 as either a missing person or someone that has not returned from a hiking event or somewhere along those lines. In some cases, it's the situations that we've had that they just find a body on the trail somewhere, like I had in Pisco. We had 2 drowning victims and had to search for the other person. There's one floating, the other one dead. Those would be extensive.
I mean, when you say extensive, I mean, could we be talking about $20,000, $30,000, $40,000? I mean, that's a possibility, is it, for one?
I would imagine so, depending on how drastic.
$100,000.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
I know you've discussed this issue at length on a number of occasions, and we're no closer to a resolve than we were when we started the budget year ago almost. And this piece of correspondence also states that item 6, the rescue squad shall no longer perform or provide hazmat response or cleanup. Sheriff, are you ready to take on hazmat? No. Do you think that our EMA, even though we've got an exceptional EMA director at this time in the county, he's doing a great job, I can tell you right now, he's not ready to take that on. And when you talk about hazmat and cleanup to meth labs and the like, that could be a substantial amount of money within itself, way above and beyond we could even begin to imagine. Not counting the issue that Mr. Streetlish raised as far as search and rescue.
Let me just comment on what the mayor said. I ordered the chief to get a CPAS opinion based on our responsibilities. I can provide it to you. For y'all's packets, I'll send it over. There is no responsibility of the sheriff or the county to provide for services.
What the rescue squad did on that, they always deacon that. They didn't have to do the scene, they didn't go to the scene and try to deacon that and any of that stuff. They always, the person, there was people in the area, the rescue squad had their responsibility. They didn't, so this is not like a cleanup. It's not going to run into something that they didn't do that to begin with.
All right, Mr. Tree, did you have a motion?
Yes, I had a motion to turn it over to the Health and Welfare Committee. And then after that, we'll send it to Finance.
Financial manager?
Yeah, Finance Manager.
Very well. Can I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Grant. Let this go to the Health and Welfare and then to the Financial Management Committee. Any other discussion on that?
I just like to have some facts and figures, get some figures what's going to come up in the future.
We do need to figure
It may cost us more than we can afford.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Can I add one more thing, Chief? Just remind me of, they have sent us bills in the past, but they would always write them off. And the highest one we ever saw was like about $565 for a transport. So it's just based on what Chief said, give you some idea. We've never had to pay those, so that's going to be accurate with you.
Also in this thing, they say that they will continue to provide for the football games and throughout the county for the home games. To my knowledge, we've never paid them. Have we, Dr. Ward, for standby at ball games?
Anything else?
That's all. We're working on the travel policy and financial management. We'll have that for you to approve next month. Now, the health and welfare. Mr. Arnie, would you come up and talk to them about the arrangement for with the First Free Will Baptist Church?
I've talked to the pastor of First Free Will Baptist, which is a block away, for assistance in an emergency. Not only for the employees of the county, but our neighbors across the street here that are elderly over in the apartments. He took it before the deacon board and it was approved unanimous. I also said it was a pleasure to be a help to the county, and they would assist in any way. And they're going to give me 3 numbers, and I'm going to give those to the EMA director and the sheriff for notification. And that's all I have for that.
And another thing that came up was about the burial policy, so we'll be working on that. Any questions?
I do. Okay, the tax sale, how does that work? Have you ever had one here on, does it happen on the steps?
Happens in the courtroom.
In the courtroom, how do we find out when we're having those?
Be published in the paper.
And it's already been pre-announced, the ones that have been on the delinquent tax thing. It was published in the paper, at the end of the year. Was it been that long?
The file judgment on tomorrow.
There's a lot of work. The county attorney can speak to that. You want to speak to the research that has to go into a sale?
Not really, no, let's just need to go through that. I mean, I'll answer, anybody wants to ask me, I'll.
If you have any questions, just ask the county attorney.
Bill and grants.
I have one issue, we've been trying to get rid of old furniture out of the kitchen, jails, real old. Last meeting, it was brought up that, because the city of Lisbon Fire Department is interested in some of this stuff. It was brought up last time when we voted to allow the volunteer fire departments. Since then, we have found out, English, there's a copy of this in your package, that we cannot do that. It has to be a government agency to let them have that. And volunteer fire department's not being a government agency, we cannot do that. So I've got a motion today, that we go ahead and let the Lisbon Fire Department see what they want out of here, and then let them have what they want. It'll be signed over to them, where they'll have it taken out of our list, and then the rest of what that we will place it in the auction and sell it at our next bill box. I'll put that forward motion.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Mr. Tester, second by Mr. Privet, to give this surplus equipment to the City of Elizabeth Fire Department. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The Highway Committee meeting. Mr. Street.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
What about the Landfill Committee?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Do you have any other committees that I've overlooked? I'd like to have a report.
Rules and bylaws don't have anything this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Law enforcement.
Thank you, Fire Department. Now, we'll have our county attorney reports. Just a
Progress on several pieces of litigation this month for the county, to give you an update on the litigation the county's involved in, which has had movement. Harris v. Carter County is still a potential case that looms. It's an inmate who passed away in the jail facility. We did receive some favorable information in the case. However, attorney representing the family of the deceased has submitted an expert's affidavit and requested some additional information. We pretty quickly.
Mr. Mayor.
I don't know. I'll just use my courtroom voice. I'll get louder.
Mr. Bowers, I hate to interrupt you, I have to make it clear, he did not die in the jail.
Sorry.
Okay, so make it real clear, he did not.
He was an inmate whose original injuries is alleged to have happened in jail, but later passed away at the hospital. Some information or request was received from his attorney for the family. Our carrier denied any kind of claim. They have requested a videotape and additional information, and we of course provided that and provide that to our carrier. And we've kept our carrier in the loop, and they've approved everything we've done thus far, and we'll continue to cooperate with any open records requests we get from the family, and we'll keep our carrier in the loop to make sure that our defense is sound. The two matters that were filed in the John Walton case, one was Justice v. Walton. In that matter, we did retain counsel, Attorney Jeff Ward, and he, upon the vote of the commission, he gave me permission last month to retain. He came in at insurance rate, so that's quite a savings for the county on a per hour rate. He's billing us right now at $150 per hour, about $70 on his paralegals, compared to what I anticipate in the $250 to $300 range per hour. We've had 2 rather lengthy litigation meetings with the judge and our attorney, and we're preparing our response as well as any necessary pre-response motions for dismissal, and those will be filed shortly. The other case that was filed in the Walton matter was the Sproul v. Walton, and that's the one that caught the media's attention. That was the case involving the general order, in which Judge Walton later issued an additional general order trying to clarify his position and removing that order. We are now negotiating on language for an order of dismissal. Sproul and Sears have agreed to dismiss that case against Judge Walton and ultimately against the county, and we hope to have that order of dismissal over to Chancellor Moody for his execution, hopefully by the end of the week. As not the least bit unexpected, is Judge Seeley, Judge Stanley, and Chancellor Johnson all recused themselves due to their relationship with Judge Walton, as they both are all judges in the same district. Chancellor Moody, who's a very fair judge and a good judge from Sullivan County, has agreed to step over and hear these matters on behalf of the court. We couldn't ask for a better judge. He'll give us a fair hearing. SIA project, working on with Mr. Tom Anderson. We did receive some, it's a road project that Mr. Anderson has been working on. We received some documentation from City Attorney Roger Day. We're getting close to everything we need from the city at this point. Mr. Anderson is working with some of the contractors, some of the building owners and the factory owners up here and their upper management to secure some releases. Once we have releases on the portion of the property that we donated to the county for the construction, then that project will be let out, and that's something the mayor's been working on with Tom Anderson quite extensively. We had a wonderful pre-meeting concerning the landfill. Mr. Bean Lyons and Mr. Loach providing a lot of information. We have talked with the landfill company. We received the bid, and we were negotiating out the terms of the language for the final contract. We're still looking at April 1st. That was the date that everyone picked as a start date, and we're still on course to be there on April 1st. And hope to have that in place and start saving some county money. And for all the negative things that happen around here sometimes, it's something we need to talk about. The fact that as a county commission, as every elected official, we're getting ready into contracts that's going to save the county quite a bit of money. And it's something that's going to help with the bottom line. Rescue Squad, you've already received the initial correspondence from Attorney Norris. As I said earlier, and I won't repeat myself much, other than to say that until we get these numbers, it's not fair to this commission to try to evaluate a claim, to evaluate an offer until Mr. Loach and I can get the information you need. And I appreciate the sheriff being so responsive after I called him and Chief Street for starting to gather their side of information. And we work with a team, we can get you the information you need. I reviewed just a few small forms for the animal shelter this month, some forms that the animal shelter director drew up, and they were good forms and forms that were needed for when animals are picked up in an incarceration situation, so that we've got a good, clear path on how long we hold those animals, so the owner has notice and we follow the code properly. Mr. Chair.
Have commission report or comments.
Mr. Moderator.
Go right ahead, Mr. Lewis.
I'd like to recognize Ms. Corey Livingston to speak.
You're out of order, Mr. Lewis. That's how we got the first of the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what I would like to say a little bit here is we've had several items come up for votes and consideration and discussion today that have not appeared on the agenda, either due to their not being available in your packets, or maybe the agenda not being detailed enough, and to keep that from happening in the past, where the commission as well as the public can have all information and items before them that will come up at our next meeting. I think now would be appropriate for a motion that all items not appearing on the agenda will not be considered at our next meeting. So everybody make that motion.
Put that forward motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Harney, second by Mr. Keller. We have all items that will be discussed and considered at our next meeting, either on our agenda or placed in our packet before the next meeting.
I still think the meeting, that the thing run pretty smooth today compared to everything, and I think we got through it all right. And we get out of here for dinner time, Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Trigger. Any other discussion? Ms. Blankenship.
would you make an exception to an emergency thing such as an emergency expenditure that has to take place, like with Mr. Perkins?
It would have to come up in between. Our packets are usually ready by Wednesday morning. If something came up before then, yes, that would be an emergency and would be considered. Ms. Brown?
Is the public comments going to be at the top of the agenda from now on, or are they going to be fluctuated?
Well, we'll see. I have a motion by Mr. Arnie, second by Mr. Cullen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, motion carries.
Yeah,
Any other commission meetings, comments? Was that you, Mr. Sams?
Yes, it was, sir.
What'd you have?
Some of the, you will provide the agendas and maybe some of the financial information that was mentioned before could be on table or something for people to pick up as they come in.
They're all available at the clerk's office.
Can we have a roll call vote on that last?
We can.
Let's do it.
Buford Peters,
Aye.
Dee Ritchie, Lawrence Hodge,
Aye.
Nancy Brown, Joel Street, Richard Winters, Ronnie Trivett,
No.
Harry Seas, Charles Von Cannon,
No.
Elsie Tester,
Aye.
Steve Lawrence, Tom Bowers, Joanne Blankenship, Charlie Bailey, Bobby Dees, Ken Arden, Steve Chambers, John Lewis,
No.
Sonja Coler, Russell Cott, Scott Sands,
No.
Bill Armstrong, Pat Hicks,
Aye.
Lonnie Goff.
Fourteen ayes, motion carried.
I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Your roll call vote?
Yep.